This is Socially Speaking. I just want to take a minute to share with you our commentary from the other side of the tracks. Well, last week we got to witness another seismic event in American history. As a young man, I remember the Iran-Contra hearings. While waiting for my daughter to be born, the testimony that came from Oliver North, much of it, much like Ronald Reagan, I don't recall. There seems to have now been normalized in the annals of American history. It appears that when one is faced with perjury and the sure conviction for a crime so blatant, so obvious, so absolutely arrogant, that I don't recall didn't apply in this hearing with Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, for Americans, truly did a service. And the service wasn't necessarily him testifying to facts that only Michael Cohen would know. But the service came in the Republicans who spent that hearing in front of the House Oversight and Reform Committee attacking Michael Cohen. Yes, rather than getting to the root of the matter, the truth behind Donald Trump and Donald Trump's relations or his connections with Russia regarding the 2016 presidential campaign, the Republicans exposed themselves as foxes guarding a hen house. The hens indeed may be innocent. I mean, it all depends on how you dissect my analogy. But here's the rub in all of this, that we know that Michael Cohen is a weasel. He worked for Donald Trump. He defended Donald Trump. He paid off people for Donald Trump. He even threatened people for Donald Trump. Now, he's not a menacing figure. You can't imagine him putting his hands on you and it hurting. But he used his position as a lawyer to do some of the most despicable things to people who just follow their American instincts to get money, like Stormy Daniels, the adult film porn star, who Donald Trump indeed had an affair with. If you want me to say alleged, then go ahead and say it in your mind. It ain't alleged, he did it. Stormy Daniels exposed him, told, as he tried to cover it up. And this is such an amazing deal. Representative Elijah Cummings, in this hearing, represented a turn in American history. It represented the fears of white supremacists in this country. It represented the equality that we all have, not all, but many of us, especially in the progressive activist community, have been thirsting for, where a person of color, in particular a black man, running the show, telling white people, reminding white males what the rules are, the rules you created through your institution we know as Congress. You see, Elijah Cummings learned the rules of the game. The Democrat from Maryland learned the rules and then mastered the rules and then applied the rules in the midst of the game. That was important. This hearing was important. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, he uncorked many disturbing allegations in his 7 hours of testimony. Now, I listened to about 3 hours of it. I watched an hour of it. I had to go to a hearing and testify myself. right here in D.C. And what we know about this 7 hours is that the special counsel investigating the Trump-Russia connection has a lot more to work with, thanks to Michael Cohen. The pressure was put on this idiot when he said, I would take a bullet for Donald Trump, trying to impress him, much like many others in the Trump orbit. When we think of Paul Manafort, or we think of Roger Stone, who's on his way to a good old-fashioned federal ass-whooping. It's due season that we appreciate fact, truth, and the American way. Is there any such thing as the American way? I mean, really. You see, when black people in this country apply the American way, the road of good intentions gets paved with barriers and roadblocks. It's funny how that happens. So now we know a little more about the WikiLeaks release. And Michael Cohen didn't tell us anything we already suspected. What he did in this hearing was confirmed what we already knew. And here's the deal. If Cohen told the truth, even though he was accused 1,000,000 times by some of the weaseliest representatives in Congress, if indeed Michael Cohen was telling the truth, then Trump's ass is grass. And I don't say that in glee. Although it's hard for me to respect the institutions in this country that have kept black people from participating in the American process, in American progress, in American government, in the American dream, I glee in seeing a person who has destroyed any honor, any prestige, any respect the office of the chief executive of this country would possess. You see, Donald Trump came in with the whole premise of doing it my way. The only reason why he wanted to do it his way is because he's too damn stupid to learn the right way. That's nothing to be proud of. The good thing about this hearing is that we knew that Donald Trump was a weasel. And for his most ardent and diehard supporters, they cannot ignore the facts that were laid on the table by Michael Cohen and the defense of Republicans, the attacks that Republicans put on him, and the defense that Republicans put up on the president. And rather than use that hearing to ask Michael Cohen about what happened when he was in the same room with Donald Trump, when he was on the phone with Donald Trump, when he was directed to do certain things for Donald Trump, rather than tear that apart, they attack the credibility of Michael Cohen. It is true that Michael Cohen would like to have a lesser sentence. Anyone who's not an idiot would. But it is also true that he was caught lying before. And there comes a time when you know that the federal government ain't playing. One thing about this country, for good, bad, or for worse, this country always gets their man. From Al Capone to John Gotti to Bernie Madoff to Osama bin Laden, America gets their man. And Michael Cohen knew that. So Michael Cohen decided now's as good a time as any to rat out the weasel. But we also got to see the other weasels in the room. The representative from Ohio, Jim Jordan, the ranking member, absolutely shameless. Thomas Massey, the Republican representative from Kentucky. Unbelievable. Kelly Armstrong, the Republican from North Dakota. Petty as hell. Clay Higgins, the Republican using his southern Louisiana charm, proved that he was nothing more than a tool for your so-called president, Donald Trump. And then there's Jody Hice, the Republican from Georgia, among the most petty of all. So it was a sad affair, but it was a revealing affair and a necessary exercise in sunlight. The House Oversight and Reform Committee did its job. And my hopes is that they'll continue to do so, because this so-called president has a lot of eggs that need to be returned to the hen house. And sometimes it takes a weasel to expose a weasel.
The other side.
And that was a Socially Speaking commentary by Perry Red from The Other Side of the Track.
The other side.
The other side of the track.
Red Media.